Hi, everybody. It's Diane K. Brennan. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. And today we are doing the fives in Cartomancy. I'm going to move this just a little bit. There we go, to hopefully get the cards up here a little bit closer in. Anyway, we're with the fives in Cartomancy today. And the fives are where something starts to change. So that is one of the things that fives are about. 9 is really the change card of the suit, emotions changing or something big changing. But the fives are kind of, say, the first real point of change because of movement. We went through growth, things stabilized or got stuck, and now they're changing and moving again. And we're at kind of the halfway point through the numbers. Fives are about the body. Think of Vitruvius Man, the head, the 2 arms, the 2 legs. And also then about the pentacle and the elements, the 5 elements of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, right? But instability, what was stable now has become unstable as things start to change and move. So in the coins and diamonds, the 5 is about shopping, eating out, because this relates to the body. So it's money spent for the body. So grocery shopping would fall under that. Buying jewelry or clothing, furniture, because your body sits in furniture. Anything like that, anything that has to do with the body. It can indicate financial challenges. Again, something that was stable becomes unstable, right? And it can also mean good luck or laughter because it's a social card. So now somebody new comes into a small group, shall we say, or, but traditionally in Cartomancy and playing cards, this is a laughter card, all right? So it is a joyful card. In the hearts and cups, the 5 is your health. So typically good health unless it's in with a bunch of spades, because again, remember that it really depends on the surrounding cards. If you've got a bunch of other cups or coins around it, or even clubs, you can have good health. When you have spades, you probably have ill health, especially if it's got the 4 of spades. Or the 5 of spades. Hearts are friendship because it's your close relationships. So the 5 of hearts or cups, friendship. Entertainment, things we do for fun. Sex, again, a pleasure of the body. Or it can be causeless jealousy. Again, it's all going to depend on the question and the cards around it. And again, remember, there are always positives and negatives to every card and every suit. At the batons and clubs, the 5s, exercise, sports, because it's action for the body. Hobbies, because that's crafts, creative endeavors. Practical work, craftsmanship. So making something happens here. Working hard, nose to the grindstone comes in with the 5 of batons. So it's working without any rest, without taking a break. It can also be a panel interview because this is the work suit. This is the business suit. This is the work suit. So entrepreneur, worker bee, all right? And it can be a barn or a healthy body. And then when we get to the spades and swords, we have ill health, disease, drugs, alcoholism. We have addiction, sickness, injury, anything that relates to bad health or poor health. Self-destruction happens here. So anybody who has self-sabotaging habits or does any self-destructive habits, like people who do the cutting of themselves. And again, it goes with the addictions too, right? Alcoholism and drug addiction are self-destructive behaviors. It can also be taking on too much stress. You're just taking on too much, just like this was work, nose to the grindstone. This is taking on too much of anything that's leading to you being stressed. That was me today for sure. Oh my goodness. And well, having it put on me anyway, ended up being a very stressful day. And it's funny because the Five of Swords is my lead card for today's daily draw, with the Hermit pointing his lantern right at it. Yeah. It can also be isolation, like cutting people out of your life. All right. So, you've got people around you and you're breaking free, right? And getting them out of your life. So, and my baby sister did a lot of that. She was an alcoholic, and for no reason or for a perceived injustice or slight, even if you didn't do it or say it, it didn't matter. She would cut you out of her life. She isolated herself. She had one friend in this life. One. She drank alone. She wasn't a social drinker. So she did a lot of that. So alcoholism and drug addiction can lead to this too, to cutting people out of your life that love you and want to help you or would want to help you if they knew you had a problem. I mean, we didn't know until 2023 when my dad passed away about my sister's alcoholism, and we didn't know how severe it really was until last year when she burned her condo down and caught herself on fire. And that alcoholism is definitely what contributed to her heart attack that led to her dying at 53. So it is definitely a self-destructive behavior, and people who cut themselves out of their life, and alcoholism and drug addiction all goes right into that. It's all tied together. So I understand why that's all lumped in this card. And it can also mean that something needs to be buried. So it can also be about burying the hatchet. Again, there can be a positive to it. So maybe you need to bury the past, or you need to bury the hatchet and make peace with somebody. Again, it all goes back to the question and the circumstances and the cards around it. How you actually interpret these cards. It is why I like the Tarot de Marseille. I will say it probably a lot through this series, is because since you read them as a sentence or a paragraph together, depending on the size of your spread, and the more the merrier sometimes, especially when you're looking at complex situations. My favorite reading to do with the Tarot de Marseille for people is Council of 13. And I draw 2 extra cards off the bottom of the pack with that. And then I do oracle cards. That's my favorite client reading because it gives me a lot more information. It gives me the past, the present, the future as like a waveform, as like an energy flow, not as fixed. This is this, this is that. But you see it flow into each other. You see that movement, and then what's above you, what's below this, like what's the underlying foundation of the situation. Because you're not reading one card against a particular position in a spread, or just a question in one card and that's your answer. So you can see what else is around it to see how it's nuanced, and be able to tell if you're looking at the light or shadow aspect of this card that you've drawn. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I wish you much love, much light, many, many blessings. Peace out, everybody. See you in the next one.